everyone, my name is Sean, and welcome to the deck profile and deck breakdown for my Subterror playstyle deck. This deck is overall a control deck that plays a lot of defensive cards and very few starter cards, but ideally wants to control the board and slow the game down to stop your opponent from going off and popping off too hard. For starters for this deck, we only have 9 starters. Those are 2 copies of Pot of Duality, 3 copies of Pot of Extravagance, 1 copy of Terraforming, and 3 copies of the Hidden City. Duality allows us to pick up the top 3 cards of our deck and add 1 to our hand. It is only a hard once per turn, and we cannot special summon the turn we use this card. Pot of Extravagance forces us to banish up between 3 and 6 cards from our extra deck face down at random, and then we are allowed to draw 2 cards. It is basically a pot of green for this deck, however you can only use it at the start of main phase 1. Terraforming searches out our 3 copies of the Hidden City, which serves as a very versatile card for our deck. It works as a starter because when this card is activated, you can add 1 Subterror monster from your deck to your hand. It also allows us to extend our combos because it can turn a face down monster you control, Subterror monster you control, into face up attack or defense position, which gives us a quick way to activate their flip effects. Also, it provides us with some defense as well, in that once per turn, when an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can change 1 face down defense position Subterror monster you control to face an attack position or defense position, and then you can negate the attack. However, you can only use one of these once per turn. For extender for the decks, we have our main extender, which is Subterror Guru. Guru's flip effect is that when it is flipped up, you can add 1 Subterror card from your deck to your hand, so he's basically your main searcher for the deck. He also has a quick effect, in that you can target 1 face-up monster you control, and 1 face-up monster your opponent could other face-up monster on the field, and change them both to face-down defense position. You have to control another face-up Subterror card for this to work though. If you do control another face-up Subterror card, this is a quick effect. So it's a Book of Moon basically for your own monsters or for your opponent's monsters as well, if you want to use it in that way. 1 copy of Subterror Cave Clash. How this card works is when you do battle damage to your opponent, you can target 1 Subterror card in your graveyard and add it to your hand. It's your only form of recursion and way of getting cards back from your graveyard in this deck, so use it very wisely. Then we have 3 copies of Subterror Final Battle. Final Battle has 4 different effects. It works as an extender by that 2 of its effects allow you to change a face down Subterror monster to face up position, which gives you a quick way of activating their flip effects, or you can do the opposite and change them to face down position, so be a bit more defensive. It also has an additional effect, and I'll go into what they do later on. For removal cards for this deck, we only have 16 starters and extenders in total. So we have to play a lot of defense cards in this deck to slow the game down, so that your opponent cannot pop off and outpace us in terms of resources. So you're going to see a lot of defensive cards for this deck. First of all, we've got removal cards. We have Subterror Behemoth Strix, which when this card is flipped up, you can banish 1 card your opponent controls. This can be really good to get rid of problematic monsters that your deck could just not naturally deal with. Also, it can flip itself face down once per turn as well. And even though it's a high level 7 monster, if you flip a monster face down on your field, you can special summon it to your field in face down position for free. Subterror Nemesis Archer can remove a face down card and shuffle it back into your opponent's deck. So if you turn one of their monsters face down and attack it with this, it automatically shuffles it back in, which is a good way to get rid of it. Also, this card works as an extender, because when this card is destroyed by a battle or card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon 1 Subterror monster from your deck in face up or face down defense position, allowing you to go offensively and get a big monster like Strix, or defensively and get something like Guru that can extend your plays. We have 3 copies of Compulsory Evacuation Device, which can return 1 monster on the field to the hand. You want to use this ideally on things like extra deck monsters, which have a high cost to come out, so that your opponent has to spend more resources to get them out again, but it can be just another way to get rid of cards you just don't want to deal with without too much of a high restriction or a cost on them. For getting rid of spells and traps, we only run Nightmare Phoenix. You don't really need to worry about your opponent's spells and traps too much, but if for some reason they're locking you down and you really want to get rid of a threat, you've got an option to go to Nightmare Phoenix in your extra deck for doing so. Like I said, we play a lot of defensive cards, and we are playing 8 hand traps in the main deck. We are playing 2 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring to stop your opponent from drawing, adding, or sending cards to the graveyard. 3 copies of DD Crow to banish a card from your opponent's graveyard, or 2 copies of Ghost Ogre or Snow Rabbit to destroy a card on the field that activates its effect. You also have 3 more of your own archetype based hand traps in the form of Subterror Fiendus. Subterror Fiendus is an Omni negate because you can negate the effect of a card or effect, whether it's a spell card, a trap card, or a monster effect. The cost for doing so is that to use this card you must turn one of your own monsters, your own Subterror monsters, face down and then send this card to the graveyard. So it has a bit of a higher activation cost than most hand traps, but you'll be able to negate more effects. Also, this card has a monster reborn effect that can work like an extender, and that is while this card is face up on the field, you can choose one Subterror monster in your graveyard or from your hand and special summon it in face up or face down defense position. You can only use each effect on Subterror Fiendus once per turn, but she's a very powerful card for controlling the board. Speaking of powerful cards for controlling the board, we also have Solemn Judgment in 3, which is just the Omni negate that can negate any summon or any spell trap effect. We have Solemn Strike for negating monster effects, and then we have 2 copies of There Can Be Only One. All of your Subterror monsters are different types: spellcasters, fiends, dragons. I think you've got rock there as well. So There Can Be Only One doesn't hurt your deck at all, because this forces both players to only control one monster of each type. This can cripple a lot of powerful decks, because a lot of decks like to run the same type of monster because they have certain synergies that work between them. There Can Be Only One can put a halt to those strategies and say, sorry, you can only control one. We also have some good finishes for this deck. Subterror Final Battle, as its name suggests, is a good finisher for this deck. And while we talked about its extender effect where it can turn cards face up or face down, it also has the effect where it can increase the attack and defense of one Subterror monster in the field to become equal to its combined original attack and defense until the end of the turn. This means you can take your little Subterror Nemesis Archer and make it from 1600 attack into 3000 attack. Also, you can take Subterror Guru from 1600 attack to 3400 attack. Your big daddy is Behemoth Uberstrix, who can go from 2000 attack to 4700 attack. And this can be a really quick way to surprise your opponent by putting a lot of damage on board really quickly. Our final finisher is in the form of Waking the Dragon. How Waking the Dragon works is if this set card in its owner's control leaves the field because of an opponent's card effect and is now in the graveyard unbanished, you can special summon one monster from your extra deck or your deck. Now, you can choose what you want to summon from this, and as long as it hasn't got another restriction, such as like this one must be special summoned with Dark Fusion. Sorry, I can't use this one. As long as it hasn't got a certain restriction on it that restricts it to a certain summon means, you can summon it to the field. And you can summon powerful cards like the Last Warrior from Another Planet, which then says neither player can summon monsters, which can be really powerful if you've already got your board set up and they haven't. While something like Last Warrior from Another Planet says you can't summon monsters, you can set monsters still, which is good for your deck because you like setting your cards anyway. You can get cards like Ultimate Falcon, which is a 3500 attack monster that is unaffected by any card effects. Or you can get something like Infinitrack Fortress Megaclops, which is also unaffected by monster effects except those of XE monsters and has 4000 attack. It cannot be destroyed by a battle except by a battle with an XE monster, and the rest is really irrelevant. It's just a big beater. There are other monsters you can use for this one. I will get better examples later on, but there's also an alternative you can do to Waking the Dragon, and we'll talk about it a little bit later on. Finally, there are no requirements for this deck, so we really shouldn't brick too hard, although it is possible because you're not playing too many starts or extenders. So looking at the deck overall, this is what it looks like. We have our 8 hand traps here with our 3 Subterror Fiendus. Guru can search out your Subterror Final Battle or any of your monsters if you need to. Part of Extravagance, we play our extra deck cards in triplets of 3 so that we banish our cards. I will have to get rid of Malicious Bane, unfortunately. I will have to find something else to better Awaken the target dragon. And yeah, we've kind of talked about the rest, so this is what the deck looks like overall. The last thing I want to mention is instead of playing Waking the Dragon as our target, with targets for that in our extra deck, we could play the Super Poly engine instead, if you want a more form of removal as opposed to more defensive or more of a finisher card. And Super Poly, basically you can use tons of monsters in your extra deck that are kind of generic fusions to break your opponent's board. So you can play things like Diaplex and Chimera if your opponent plays a lot of Cyberse monsters, which is quite frequent in things like Spirals. Similarly, Earth Golem says you can use Cyber monsters and Link monsters, which is also good against decks like Spiral. Mud Dragon can take 2 monsters with the same attribute but different types to fusion summon with. And Draco Stapelia can use 1 fusion monster and 1 dark monster, where Starving Venom can use 2 dark monsters on the field. If you feel this would be better for your deck, you can maybe go with a Super Poly engine as opposed to using Awaken the Dragon engine. But they serve different purposes. Awaken the Dragon is more defensive, and if you use this against your opponent, they're going to start thinking twice about trying to destroy your board and your cards, because they're going to be scared that you have Awaken the Dragon ready for them. So guys, that is my deck profile. I'm going to start testing this deck a bit more. I'm going to have to make some changes to it already because of my silly mistake with Malicious Bane. But otherwise, the main deck is pretty solid as it is. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed watching this video, and if you want to see some gameplay or see me do some streaming of this, let me know. Thank you guys for watching this video. Feel free to add me to PSN if you want to challenge me, and I'll see you soon. Take care.